What's going on, everyone? And welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of Snowpiercer Season 2, Season Finale, which is Episode 10, Into the White. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button and join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, as well as commenting below on the video to watch, including this one. And so episode 10, which was Into the White, is a lot more anticlimactic than I was expecting. It wasn't a bad episode, but after the first season, I felt a little underwhelmed, I guess you could say. I was expecting this like huge battle, but it was basically about the chess pieces that had fallen over, kind of putting himself back on the board. And of course we have Ruth and, Layton escaping from the cell as they said they were going to do in the 9th episode. I like that Ruth and, Layton kind of team up. It was kind of badass. Ruth is showing her strength as she knocks out or kills the guard or whatever. And she shows it later on against Kevin and whatnot. So, but this episode basically needs to end the season while leading up into the 3rd season, which it kind of does in a lot of respects. But basically, this whole episode is how do we get back to Melanie after they've kind of pushed past her after what we saw in the end of this episode and the end of the last episode with Melanie. How are we going to get back to her? And they've decided, with the help of people like Basso and the woman who lost her 3 fingers and stuff like that, they've decided to basically unhinge or unchain the car from the aquarium. Because even though Big Alice is kind of unfortunately attached to Snowpiercer, the whole idea of them being able to attach to go back to Melanie is something that it will work. And that's what they decided to do. Aleks is going to basically keep Wilford distracted with LJ and Miss Audrey on that part of the ship. Of course, Bosco is going to, in turn, use the machine or mechanisms to unchain the Snowpiercer and Big Alice, so that they have their 3 or 4 cars or 10 cars or whatever. And Layton and Ruth are going to get the people they need, and Layton's going to bait Wilford to coming to the aquarium car. And in the process, what ends up happening is Bennett and Javier are going to slow the train. They're going to take that track up through the Colorado mountains, and they're going to make sure that they can get Melanie on board. And it doesn't go well, as you're expecting. Once LJ, who I thought was going to have a pretty significant moment in the season, which she did, is as Aleks is able to convince Wilford that the train is moving and that there's just snow and ice and stuff like that, as they make that turn, LJ once again ruins the moment by saying, I've seen it in her mother do the same thing. It's a ruse. Wilford sees what's happening, and he's going to go after, in Big Alice where Javier's at. And what ends up happening is it's closed because, of course, Layton and Ruth were up there. They've closed down the cabin. And so Wilford uses the breachmen or his soldiers to basically start busting into the door. And Javier realizes what's going to happen and so on and so forth. And then when the old crap moment happens, you realize that Wilford asked for his dog, which is really sad, because we know what's going to happen to Javier at that point. They break into the cabin where the train mechanics are at, the train booth there, and they beat up Javier, his soldiers, and then dog attacks Javier, and Javier is officially dead. This is the end of Javier's character. So someone did die. It wasn't what I was expecting. Javier was a minor character turned into a major character in the series, and he is now officially gone. So peace to Javier. Maybe he'll come back next season as a new Icy Bob or something like that. But in essence, what ends up happening, and we see it, like I said, Layton is able, to get his plan in motion. They need to slow down the train, but of course Wilford speeds up the train. It causes the train to kind of push past, of course, Melanie and stuff like that. And because of what happens, Aleks ends up stabbing Wilford in the neck, which basically she's able to run away before he's able to kill her and stuff like that. So it was a pretty graphic moment where Wilford gets stabbed in the neck and he gets stitches and stuff like that. It leads to Layton, of course, approaching Wilford in one of the first class cars, like up in that hallway right there. And it's basically a way for Layton to bait and switch Wilford to go into the aquarium car. And in the process, we of course have Miss Audrey is talking to Zara in the first class car or whatever, and Bess because she knows what's happening, because everything is going down, they've kind of, conceived their plan. Bess opens the door and knocks out Miss Audrey with one punch, which was kind of awesome. And so when Wilford runs after, or not really runs after, but goes after Layton, he sees that Miss Audrey is, of course, kidnapped or under a hold of the Taily crew, basically. This is the point where Josie, who was put outside to basically make sure his train is working properly. With the help of Bennett, she actually breaks open the aquarium, which is a really cool scene. We see the aquarium break open. We see the very cold weather reach into the water. All the fish and turtles and in there die and stuff like that. It causes the collapse of the aquarium train, and therefore the two halves, which is one is going to be Layton's half and the other is going to be Wilford's half, basically go off into separate directions. Therefore, Wilford only has that one portion, and Layton has 10 cars. So Wilford still has most of the cars, but Layton has 10 cars for himself. But it's a really cool scene. It's a really well done moment. Wilford kind of getting the last bit of F you in your face and stuff like that. And it's a really fun moment. But the only one bad thing is Ruth, who actually takes on Kevin, because she goes to get her jacket, because she's always worn that hospitality jacket, and she sees Kevin, who's in the room for some reason. It's convenient storytelling or whatever, and he has a cattle prod, and he wants the suit jacket back, and she throws it and then kicks him in the balls, and then attacks him with the cattle prod, and he's like, he's screaming like a woman. It's pretty funny. And but the problem is, because the cars have basically separated now, she is stuck on Wilford's portion of Snowpiercer, and I think she's going to have a lot of issues thrown her way in the third season. That is going to make her either a prisoner or somebody who is going to have to hide through most of it, and it's going to be interesting to see. But this leads into the last act of this episode, where they take the 10-car train, Layton and the crew, which is now Bess, Josie, Bosco, Bennett, and Layton, and of course Aleks, who's now on their side. And of course Aleks and Layton go to the command center where Melanie was working, to kind of find spots of heating up the earth, so like that where people could live. And they find that she's not only not there, but she has used all her resources. She's gone, and she leaves along a couple of hard drives, which they can use as ways to kind of find out where they need to go. And she leaves, of course, a tape-recorded message for anybody who finds it. It's about how she knew Wilford was going to sabotage the train, and when it moved past her, she's not there. So who knows if she survives? It's insinuated that she is dead, which I can't believe that in a series like this, when you have somebody that's important like Jennifer Connelly. If this is how she goes out in the series, I just don't buy it. I think it's very poor storytelling, because to have her left behind like that is fine, but to have her not be in the control center and to not see her body or anything really makes me wonder if she was able to find something. Maybe she got the snowmobile working, so she's going off to find some place. Maybe they're close to one of those heat pockets that they find. But in essence, it's it's just one of those things where I just they brought Josie back, they bring Kevin back. There's no way they're not gonna bring Melanie back. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. Even though we haven't seen Melanie since that episode that she was the only person in, I don't see it coming down to her being gone. It doesn't work for me. And if she's truly dead, then the writers and creators have truly kind of mishandled or misused her character, because she really came around in the second season, and to be kind of thrown by the wayside like this is really weird to me. But maybe she found a way to get out. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe she'll at some point pop up in the third season. It's entirely, who knows at this point. It's up in the air. But it's left with Aleks realizing what has happened. She thinks that Melanie's dead. Aleks and Layton go back to the train, which you can see is 10 cars long, and they put the hard drives into the system. And of course we see that there are about 12 different pockets or something like that of actual space where people could live in, without being on a train, of warming up of the Earth, which is really fascinating. So season 3 is going to be really fascinating in the simple fact of, are they going to, well, one, they're going to take back Snowpiercer, which is what Layton said, which is going to happen. You're going to see Layton versus Wilford, and the train thing is going to be really interesting how it plays out. I hope they do a much better job of like getting us to that moment, but we'll see, because it'll probably take place like the end of season 3 or something like that. But after everything's said and done, after they've kind of finish their mission, they can't find Melanie and stuff like that. It's going to be really interesting to see where season 3 heads up, because now that we have 2 different trains, now we have one that's almost over 1,000 cars long that now doesn't have some food, and then you of course have the 10 cars long. He like Layton says, it's a pirate car, pirate train. Just overall, the last episode of the season was truly kind of an underwhelming episode. There's a lot of interesting fun moments. I like Ruth. I like her kind of turn. I like that she becomes kind of a badass. But now she's in trouble. She has to hide and stuff like that, I'm guessing. And I'm just really fascinated, hopefully, with season 3. Hopefully it's a lot better season. The last season finale of episode 2, it just had some weird moments. It didn't really kind of fully settle with me. And it was an episode that still had a lot of fun. But like season 2 in its nutshell, it has a lot of interesting moments, but is not fully developed or realized, and that is kind of a sad thing, because I wanted to believe that they would end it on a really crazy, chaotic thing, and instead it was more of a kind of low thing where a lot of things happen, but not a lot of things I was expecting. So maybe my excitement for the season finale was a little high, but overall I thought it was a little kind of underwhelming, I guess you could say. So unlike the first season, which really kind of went with a bang, this one was just a very second season. Them putting out their second album, and it's just not as good as the first album. It's just the unfortunate nature of it. But it still has some moments. It still has some fun. Ruth kicked ass. Best punched a woman. Punched Miss Audrey, which was funny. Layton, they kill a bunch of people and stuff like that. And unfortunately, Javier died, which was depressing. So overall, I'm not going to give this episode a 9, unlike the last episode. I'm going to give this episode a 7.5. 7.5 out of 10. Because it was one of those episodes that really it didn't truly pop like the last season's finale. So. But okay, so to overall talk about the overall season, we all agree the second season was a disappointment. It really was. It was full of potential, full of interesting ideas. The fact that Wilford is now on this train, now has connected to this train, the fact that Melanie has basically altered the whole idea of the train being, forever connected to Snowpiercer. The idea of Wilford using his ability to take over Snowpiercer, because that's always where it was going to head. I just think overall it was fine. It was a fine season. It had good moments. It had good action. I thought Andre Layton's character, W. Diggs, was completely underused. It wasn't until the last few episodes, or some portions of some episodes, where he got to truly shine. But this truly was Jennifer Connelly's season, and I give it a higher grade just for that, because she truly was great in the season. It's kind of sucks that the last few episodes we just don't really get a resolution outside possibly her dying. Sean Bean was Sean Bean. He was good as a villain, but I expected more out of him. I expected more out of Bess Till's character. I expected more out of, Zara and Sam and LJ. I just expected more out of this. I expected a much more dark, much more horrifying season, and we got a lot of the same tropes, the same murder mystery tropes, the same just kind of everything that we got in the first season, and you can't do that every season. You have to find a way to break through the traditional norms of what you did in the first season. You have to push yourself to make it better, because if you don't, the third season is going to be a disaster. I mean, if it goes in this direction, the third season is going to be a disaster, and I'm hoping the separation of the 2 sections will fix that problem. But I just worry that the creators of the series and the showrunner and the writers are going to write themselves into a corner, and season 3 is just going to be an overall just kind of a travesty of a season. But I have faith. I still think the season is worthy of a watch. I think the characters are still entertaining. After watching the first, the movie itself, I don't think the characters are as well written as the movie is. I think some of the characters in the series have been given much better character arcs like Ruth. I thought Ruth was fantastic in the season. Her character arc from the first season to the end of this season is a complete 180. And like I said in episode 9, it was a really well done, really interesting character. And I think she's the best character in the series. I really do. I thought Miss Audrey was completely just, I don't know what they did with her. She was completely brainwashed. She was a one-note character, and she went from being really interesting to being just a total travesty of a character. And a character just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand, after what she did and after all the pain that she went through with Wilford, she's just all of a sudden now for him, now in love with him. And it didn't make any sense to me. And then all of a sudden, Pike just disappeared. Like, where the hell did Pike go? He was going to be killed. Now he's just disappeared. And like I said, Javier and Bennett were Javier and Bennett, and that is just, I don't know. It was really weird. There's a lot of similarities to this season with what was going on in the current state of America, and for the most part, it didn't work for the simple fact that it was just so in your face and so just kind of pungent, and just kind of like, I understand the whole class system. I understand that Wilford's a very authoritarian, autocratic person, but I don't know. I hope and pray that the writers have something figured out for season 3, because this isn't how you need to run your series. I mean, who am I to say, because I'm not a showrunner. It'd be difficult to do it myself. I don't know. To be fairly honest, I'm giving the entire season a 6 out of 10 as a whole, just because it was so underwhelming. It would get a higher score if it really kind of stuck the landing on the last episode, but even the last episode just felt just completely underutilized. It really was. So it's a shame. It really is. And it's not saying that I don't say you should watch the season, but if you've been following along and you've been commenting, you've been watching my reviews, and you've been watching the series yourself, you kind of can see where I'm going. Some people really like the season, which is perfectly all right. But for the most part, most people that have been commenting are like, this season sucks. I'm like, for the most part, it kind of does. It really does. But we'll see. We'll see where I'm going to stick with it. We're going to see where season 3 goes. I have a lot of faith that, I didn't realize this was the second most watched TV show, like cable TV show, drama show or whatever. So that gives me hopes that they're going to sign for a couple more seasons. But I think the series in a whole could last 5 seasons, but if it keeps doing this, they're going to lose fan base. I'm going to fall off of it, and you don't want that. You want people to hold on, because after season 2, which is usually the weaker season, the season 3, season 4 is where they start to get the groove. And you saw it like, in The Simpsons, you saw it in Friends, you saw it in Lost. You see it in all these great shows that the eventual kind of drive for the show to become really good is in that 3rd season or 4th season. And I have a lot of faith that they're going to do something interesting. So, but overall, like I said, this season is just a 6 out of 10. It's like a good band just releasing their sophomore album. It never usually is that great, but sometimes it works out. It just depends. So there we go. That's the end of season 2. Like I said, could have been better, but could have been a whole lot worse too. So that's something at least to think about when you're watching this series. But overall, thank you so much for following me on this journey of Snowpiercer. Once again, thank you to Warner and TNT for allowing me to see these episodes early. It's been an honor to be able to review this series and be able to watch it and kind of take it all in, because it's a series that I've kind of fallen in love with and I'm very committed to watching. So I gotta thank for them for allowing me to see this early. But overall, like I said, we'll see what happens in season 3. But there you go. That is season 2 of Snowpiercer. It's officially over till next year. So that'll be my take on Snowpiercer season 2, episode 10, the series season finale, which is Into the White. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the season as well as the episode. Were you underwhelmed as much as I was? Did you think the season 1 finale was much better than season 2 like I did? All that good stuff. But otherwise, thank you once again for joining me for season 2 of Snowpiercer. I look forward to reviewing season 3. But if you like what you see on my channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next video and the next season of Snowpiercer. Peace out.